According to our Premier Tim Houston, some of the potential sites chosen by Halifax Council for designated homeless encampments are completely nuts. So this list was put forth by Halifax Council last week after a lengthy debate, and it included Bears Road Windsor Street Park, Buy-High Park, Chain Lake Park, Cogswell Park, Glebe Street Park, Halifax Commons, Geary Street Green Space, Bissett Road Park, and Point Pleasant Park. And at this time, these are just potential sites and they're not currently designated for sleeping rough. And if this changes, the municipality would be putting out this to the public after lengthy planning processes were completed. So in other words, my hope would be that at least for the Commons and Point Pleasant Park, that this will never happen. And regardless of what you think about these homeless encampments, the reality is the fact that the Commons and Point Pleasant Park even made this list to begin with is absolutely ridiculous. But we'll get more into this in a minute. But just before I do, if you're new here, my name is Andrew Stevens and I've been a realtor in Halifax for 9 years. And if you like this content, you want to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to book a call or meet with me to chat about real estate, or if you're thinking about making a move in the Halifax area, you can reach out to me anytime in the Calendly link below. Currently, there's thought to be about 1,300 people experiencing homelessness in Halifax. And truthfully, I think the scarier number to know would be how many people are just kind of 1 degree away from this. How many people are close to being in this situation? How many people are couch surfing with their friends or staying with family or whatever it might be? Honestly, I think that would be a very, very scary number to know. And just before I dive into this one a little bit more, I just want to say that this is obviously a spicy and pretty controversial topic that's been all over the media as of late. And it's easy to sit here and talk about the problems and pick apart the problems and pick apart the government and everybody else who's involved. But the reality is the solutions are not that simple. It's a very complex problem, but I surely do not think that anybody should be sleeping rough in Halifax. And it's a really difficult reality to even comprehend, to be honest with you. So yes, I see this situation evolving every single day when I'm out and about, when I'm working and everything else. And I really, really feel for the people who are in this situation or the people who are right on the cusp of about to be in this situation and fighting to keep a roof over their head. Now, I recently sat down with Eric, who's one of the client managers at the Bridge Shelter in Dartmouth, and we had an open conversation about the Halifax housing crisis. And it's a great conversation. It was very eye-opening. I have it as a video on my channel, which you can check out up here up top. But it was a really eye-opening conversation for me, and it was a really great conversation and one that a lot of people should really listen to if they want to get a real grasp on what is actually happening out there with the current homelessness situation amidst the housing crisis. So these sites right now are not active. They're just proposed that they could be used if they are needed. To be honest, I'm not really sure how Halifax Council had the idea to put the Halifax Commons and Point Pleasant Park on this list to begin with, and to me, it seems completely outrageous. And in fact, Bill Moore, Executive Director of Halifax's Community Safety Department, said that opening more sites allows municipal staff and street navigators to move people from the overcrowded University Avenue site, which is seeing violence and impacts on people who work and visit nearby hospitals. So their solution to this is to move it from University Avenue to more public and more crowded park spaces during prime season of how many people are going to be around these parks. And if you go to the Commons or Point Pleasant Park on any given afternoon, I'm sure you'll find a lot of people around there. So to me, this one really doesn't make any sense. In terms of Point Pleasant Park, I don't think I need to point out the obvious, but there's been fires at some of these encampments already. And when you look at what happened last summer with multiple wildfires across our province, obviously that is a dangerous situation to have near a very wooded area in one of our treasured parks in Halifax. And moving on to the Commons, well, this is one of the most active parks in the whole city. It's booming with people all the time. So I just really don't see how it's a great spot for an encampment when there's lots of public around, lots of kids around, and so on. And truthfully, we've been down this road before. It was back earlier this year, or maybe it was back in the fall, where Halifax councillors almost unanimously agreed that the Commons should not be used for a homeless encampment, and they shut it down very, very quickly. And one councillor actually said, if we put an encampment on the Commons, we will lose it. We will lose the Halifax Commons. And apparently, I'm not the only person who thinks this. Over the media in the last couple days, I've seen some of the following comments, which I'm going to throw up there for you right now. Tim Houston said, "It's completely nuts. I almost fell off my chair. It's just really hard to get your head around how HRM Council could think that these would be appropriate sites." Now, Mayor Mike Savage said, "Nobody, certainly not me, wants to have homeless people on the Halifax Commons or in Point Pleasant Park. The fact is, they're there now. We can't ignore the fact from a safety point of view." Savage also said that he hopes that none of the 9 sites will have to be used, but the courts have said homeless people can't be told to move their tents if the authorities have no place for them to go. He also asked staff to prepare a larger site in Wrights Cove in Dartmouth, but that's been slated to be finished a little bit closer to September. And last but not least, Brendan McGuire, Community Services Minister, said, "I don't think the Commons or Point Pleasant Park are appropriate sites, and I think that most Nova Scotians would agree with that." So this is obviously a band-aid solution for the time being, and the municipality has come out and they've said that if any of these sites are open, they're just temporary measures until more shelters are put in place or more public housing is put in place. And based on the reactions of especially the Premier and the Mayor, I'm going to assume and I'm going to hope that the Commons and the Point Pleasant Park will not officially be opened as a designated encampment site, but only time will tell, and I'll keep you posted if anything changes with that, but there would be a release from the municipality if they go that way. And in terms of other solutions that are more permanent solutions, the government has made a lot of announcements over the last 6 to 12 months with new shelters and new public housing, but it has been very slow moving. Recently, the province spent $7.5 million on 200 pallet shelters, and only 19 of these are in place, and they're fighting for a place to put them with the municipalities and all of that. So as usual, any government announcements are going to take a lot of time to put into effect, but people see these announcements and they think that change is going to happen overnight, and it's really not. We have a long way to go before we see any difference or any dent put into the housing crisis, especially in Halifax. Now, it does sound like the other 180 pallets are slated to be put in very soon in the next few months, but again, personally, I'll believe it when I see it. This announcement was made back in like November, so we're almost, a year down the road, and there's only 19 of the 200 shelters actually put in place, and these ones are in Lower Sackville. Honestly, I do think that the province works with the municipalities, and Mayor Mike Savage actually said something about this last week in the news, saying that, contrary to popular belief, we do work side by side in a lot of cases, but personally, I see a lot of finger pointing going on, a lot of, this is the province's fault or this is the municipality's fault. And the truth is, based on the housing crisis right now, we need all 3 levels of government, provincial, federal, and municipal, to get on the same page and work together to create solutions. And not only create solutions, but create them much faster than they have been, because announcing something and taking a year to being put in place is not going to be good enough to curb the demand that we're seeing right now, and it's not going to be enough to stop the Halifax housing crisis that is currently happening right in front of our eyes. But I'm curious, what do you think? If you're still here watching, you obviously have some vested interest in this topic, and I'm curious what you think about these 9 sites and if they should go ahead, especially the Commons and Point Pleasant Park. And yes, I know there's a couple tents on there right now, but they're not actual designated encampment sites as of this current time. And if you got any value out of this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content, and that'll help push it out to more people like you who may be interested in seeing content about the Halifax and Nova Scotia housing market. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and have a great day.